Oh guys, this stock has been a laggard all year long in the stock market, but with some recent events, it is now primed to go on an epic run. At least that's kind of the narrative that's kind of being built out there. So let's talk about exactly what that narrative is. Let's separate the truth from the hype and get you guys real answers. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, because that is exactly what you're going to get today, guys. So as you guys know, I love breaking down Wall Street. Even when I agree with them, I still like getting into the nitty gritty and basically separating out their trash from the truth there. And even though I want this to really be true, let's see if it's actually true or not.
Well, here with more, Morgan Stanley's Eric Woodring. He covers tech hardware for that firm. It's good to see you again. It's been a minute. What do you make of what Sievert said? Does that match with what you're hearing and seeing?
Thank you, Scott. No, it's good to see you. So generally, directionally, I would say that is accurate. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we're 10 days post pre-order period, but the early data points, when you piece them together, whether it's from carriers, whether it's from lead times, whether it's from some of the supply chain, is all pointing to what I would call a cycle that is better than we expected. I wouldn't call it robust. I think it's too early to call it robust, but early indications are positive for the iPhone 17 across the entire family.
First thing I'm going to point out is I love the headset there. It's like, I don't know, is he playing video games in the background there? I think I had one like that in, I don't know, 2002, something like that. So pretty funny. The guy covers tech and then he's got a headset like that talking that, which is always funny on these things when they're going on national TV and yet they have poor audio, poor, video, whatever the case is. But nonetheless, coming back to the iPhone sales and exactly what's happening with that, every year you hear the same exact narrative with the iPhone. It turns out even last year, although it wasn't the super cycle that everybody was hoping for or anything else of that nature, it ended up selling better than average. Now, having said that, this year's pre-orders have really surged well above the levels last year. And it even has myself interested, right? I provide phones for my employees, and I've had them ask about upgrading their phones, which is the first time in forever that that's happened, where I've had it kind of universally across the board. There are a lot of folks asking to actually get an upgrade as opposed to just, hey, phone broke, need a new one, whatever the case is. So I'm not only seeing it in terms of my own, employees and in my own businesses. I personally, I kind of like some of the stuff that they announced too. It's the first time I watch the Apple event every year. And usually I just kind of go, whatever, mine's still good. And I move on with life. And I know a lot of other folks have felt that way as well. But this time around, they actually did some things that are somewhat exciting, somewhat, we'll call it innovative. I don't want to take that too far. It's not like it's groundbreaking or anything of that nature. But compared to what we normally get, it's definitely a big leap up overall. And we're seeing that so far in the early data. Now, the key to a lot of this is Apple doesn't release a lot of the data. So people are kind of making extrapolations based upon crazy, this date out to this date means they've sold so many units. Basically if it's back ordered till this date, it means this much. Whatever the case is, we don't actually know what their production numbers are, much less, what those actual backlog numbers mean. So everybody's kind of guessing. But generally speaking, I did see a bigger line than I normally see. I happened to randomly pop into a mall for something real fast, and I was like wondering what the heck's going on at the Apple store. I forgot that it was like Apple release day or the day after Apple, whatever. I don't keep up with any of that sort of stuff. But anyways, there's a big freaking line out there at the Apple store for it, and I hadn't seen that in the past. And of course, just my own anecdotal evidence right there in my little world right here. I'm seeing that same exact excitement, enthusiasm for the particular product. Again, I've always been excited about the stock. The product, well, I'm not a tech guy, so I don't care about it that much. I rarely, if ever, upgrade. I just kind of keep my phone until it dies. But in this case, they definitely got a couple of things that I'm definitely seriously considering upgrading to. Now, that does not mean anything in terms of the stock price. It's strictly anecdotal at this stage. We'll get those answers on earnings, unless Apple releases something ahead of time.
Devices.
But what you're suggesting is that it's still very much a show me story.
Well, there's a few parts of Apple that are still a show me story, of course, when we think beyond just kind of the near term, but something that we can point to are, whether it's long lead times, whether it's lines out the door in person, we can say that the December quarter and at least near term demand, what we've seen over the last 10 days, is directionally up year over year. Quantifying that, I think, becomes a lot more difficult. There's a lot of moving pieces amongst all of the models, right? The iPhone 17 and the Pro Max appeared to be doing the best early on. The Air kind of the opposite story. But the Air is a device that you need to kind of look and feel and touch in person. When I saw it at the launch event 2 weeks ago, it does stand out for how thin it is, but I don't think you truly appreciate that until you go to the store, and then you have to decipher, do I give up some of my camera quality or telephoto lens for a thinner form factor? So again, I think we can say that early on demand indications are better, but I just don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We're 10 days into the launch. We've been tracking lead times back to 2017 every single week, twice a week. I can find no statistical significance between lead times and the longevity of a cycle. So I just want to make sure we can say, good so far, let's continue to track the data.
There you go. I can't disagree with that at all. It is a fool's errand to try to draw these long-term conclusions based upon anything that's happening in the short term there. There really is no correlation. Shows you how crazy people go to try to figure out Apple's data. For whatever reason, it's like, Fort Knox there. They just keep it locked down, the information. There's always rumors, some of them true, some of them not true. But whenever I hear folks talk about Apple, and it's talking about specifically stocks and what the company is going to execute to, not the rumors on what the latest iPhone is going to look like or colors or any of that other goofy stuff like that. I'm talking about product development, things of that nature. It's hilarious to watch people try to guess this sort of stuff because they never have a clue, because Apple, for whatever reason, keeps it all on lockdown. We actually have a group member who has a family member that works within Apple there, and it's the same exact thing. Everything is on lockdown, and there's no information coming from that individual. It's just kind of the way it works there. So you're forced to just kind of speculate like this. Now, do I choose to speculate like this? No, don't need to, don't have to. I simply use valuation as my guide, and we'll talk about Apple's valuation here in just a moment. But so far, not a lot to disagree with.
Hear you, but the more I listen to you and sort of try and dissect the way you're saying this and your tone is, it's very measured. That to me suggests that there's a long way to go before some of the major concerns around Apple can be put to the side. We need to see a very robust upgrade cycle at some point, and we need to have enough of an AI offering that's deemed credible by investors that it helps sort of end the narrative that's going to hang over this name for a while. No?
Yeah, well, let's put it in context. So since the iPhone launch, Apple is up about $20. It's up about it's about $20 from the day of the launch. If we say that every incremental iPhone is worth about 6 cents to earnings, and you capitalize that at a roughly 30 times multiple, what the market is saying is that fiscal 26 iPhone units, all else equal, are now supposed to be up about 4%, not flat. That's what the stock is pricing in today. But we want to make money. We don't want a flat stock. So we need to say, okay, what can happen above and beyond that 4% unit growth and or ASP growth? And what we need to get is a slightly stronger cycle and or excitement around foldables, which doesn't come for another year, and or some form of injection of AI into the story, which Apple, to be frank, has zero in the stock price today for good reason. So there is more that we can learn, and we can get excited about those factors, and those are not priced in today, but that's where the upside is going to come from.
Yeah, again, I don't know. This guy seems to be spot on today. Doing a better job lately at putting on folks that have been very, very reasonable on these shows. Yeah, they've got to show it. That's the reality of it. There isn't AI priced into this like there is a lot of other companies, a lot of other stocks out there, because Apple, quite frankly, has failed to deliver on that. I love the partnership with Google. Obviously, they were waiting until all the Justice Department and all that other stuff like that went away in regards to the AI and other things of that nature. That's why I don't think we got anything really AI related with the new iPhone launch. I think they wanted to, but they had to wait until that all cleared out before moving forward with the partnership with Google. So that's something that we see, 6 months, 9 months from now, whatever the case is, once they start to integrate in that. And that could very well be very powerful. That's the route I think that they should go is, hey, let a lot of other folks do a lot of the heavy lifting, bring it into the Apple ecosystem, and then let the dominance that they have on the personal user and the data that they have on a personal level create a very, very personalized experience. I know we've talked about it a lot on this channel, but that right there, there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of different ways to win in AI. It's not just who has the best LLM and that's it. There's going to be thousands of different ways to monetize it. And I believe Apple's way to be a big AI winner is to take the unique situation that they have, that no other large cap company, mega cap company, even small cap company has with their, basically their ecosystem that has so much personal data where they can create such a personalized experience compared to any other phone that's out there. And it's not even close. There's no other way to give that level of personalization anywhere else except for Apple. Apple is the only one that has this chance to do it. And if they're able to execute on it, regardless of whether they use help with Google, whether they buy up a couple of companies and bring them underneath their umbrella to kind of increase that footprint more, the point being, they're the only one that can do that. And that right there would be a major catalyst for the stock itself. Obviously, they could monetize that at that stage. You name me a company that's better at monetizing things than Apple is. They'll sell you a freaking toothpick for, $10, $15 and people are happy and stand in line and wait for it to buy it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't buy that sort of stuff, but nonetheless, they're the best at doing that. So there's no doubt in my mind they can make a lot of money to it, but they have to execute to it. And they haven't yet, to be quite frank. And it's fair to not price that into the stock too, because they haven't executed to it yet. Those narratives, you got to be ahead, you got to do all this other stuff. No, you don't. You got plenty of time to wait around, let somebody execute, prove it to you. And then at that stage, start paying for it. We've seen it repeatedly over and over and over again, but yet it's a mistake that we make as retail investors, thinking we have to be, years ahead or decades ahead of. No, it's just not true, guys. I'm sorry.
Selling an extra 1 or 2 million phones doesn't get this story exciting. What gets this story exciting is selling 20 million plus more phones and having an AI offering and having foldables come out next year, getting excited on that. That's what we want to look for.
Man, I think if you just get 20,000 more units and you fix the AI thing, I think the foldable thing is, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I don't think anybody cares if you continue to see the iPhone sales click up over and over and over again. Maybe that foldable will be the next big breakup. I know I personally don't want one, but nonetheless, I know there's a big market out there for them. So I won't necessarily disagree with there. I think the stock is going to move massive if they get that massive move up in sales. Obviously 20 million phones is a pretty big jump up. And of course, if they're able to solve their AI problems as well.
Can they buy that injection, to use your word, or can they develop it organically?
I don't think they're going to buy. I think we've long said that we think this becomes a natural partnership. Apple is creating some of their own technology to power Siri and Apple Intelligence. Think about things like on-screen context that Apple has talked about. But when we talk about the potential for having a digital virtual assistant on our iPhone, I think Apple needs to partner. We've heard some of the reports about partnering potentially with Google or with Anthropic or with OpenAI. I think that naturally makes sense. And if we think about the kind of foundation of technology that those companies bring, it is a bit akin to search, where Apple has outsourced that and become the distribution partner for search and made a ton of money doing it. Now, I believe that ultimately kind of this next evolution of AI and some of those features are somewhat like outsourced AI, and Apple becomes the distribution arm of that, which you can monetize from both a hardware and a services perspective. Think of it like a CapEx light model, so to speak. But I think partnership is the way that they go.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop the video right there. Those are excellent points there at the end. A great way to kind of frame the discussion of they'll be the distributor of the products. And again, that was their business model with the quote unquote internet and everything else, how the iPhone is used and everything else, apps and everything else. Nobody monetized it better than Apple. So it makes perfect sense for them to continue on with that business model, because remember, we're viewing it as a business. I don't care if whatever the heck is fueling Siri in the background and the AI experience on my iPhone, I don't care if it's Google or Apple, or if Apple developed it, or if, they bought up a third party who developed it. I don't care. All I know is, and the vast majority of folks out there, they just want it to work and work great and not be what Siri is right now, right? That's all that we want. I couldn't care less if Apple developed it or not. Totally irrelevant. I know once it goes into the ecosystem and it becomes something that Apple puts forward, it's going to work awesome. And I'm going to enjoy the experience overall. That's all that I care about there. So if they continue that, guess what? As a shareholder, which is what we're talking about stocks. As a shareholder, it is going to print money to the bottom line. That much I know for sure. I might not know that they're not going to come out with the latest, greatest tech or the best this or the best that, but I know whatever the heck they come out with, even their failures, their flops, still print money to that bottom line. And kind of like you said, it's CapEx light. They're not having to burn billions of dollars on all this AI infrastructure and everything else. I understand they're still spending as well, but not at the clip that a lot of other folks are having to spend at. So that's another big positive for Apple. Again, keeping those expenses low. profit margins high, making a lot of money, making a lot of top line revenue, and of course, which usually translate to massive bottom line revenue for Apple themselves. And that right there is a recipe for a lot of future growth in the stock if they can execute to, which is a big if, guys. Now, we always talk about valuation here on this channel, so let's talk about Apple's valuation because if I'm being honest, it's rich. But a lot of stocks right now are really, really rich in the stock market. But Apple's, given the fact that they haven't had the same level of performance that a lot of other stocks that have gotten overvalued, at least I can point to, wow, their earnings were incredible. And therefore it makes sense that it's a little bit overvalued or it's trading a little bit hot right now, or in some cases a lot hot. Apple has not been in that same exact boat there. So I can't say that their run-up is justified. However, this is part of that institutional holdership that Apple has that is so different, and the fact that the market treats Apple as kind of the ultimate safety stock slash, just a stock that everybody wants to own, that you can count on during good times and bad times. That's kind of what Apple has become over time. And that is why it stayed a lot higher than it should have. Even during 2022, whenever we had the massive dips down, it just didn't get crushed like everybody else did. It's just kind of the way that Apple moves and stays at this particular point in time. However, it is overvalued by any metric. And man, it's probably, in terms of earnings, maybe we get blown out of the water earnings this next quarter. Who knows? But it's going to take a lot more those type earnings, 2, 3, 4 in a row to really get it to where that valuation comes back to, a more reasonable valuation. Of course, we're just in a really hot market right now, so a lot of things are getting stretched. So I'm not surprised by that, but definitely exciting times for those of us that are Apple shareholders, especially those of us that are Apple shareholders and Apple users. Definitely a great time to be around. If you happen to stuck around this long, I may have left something special down on the pinned comment down there for you, for my group, where you get analysis just like this. You get free coaching, you get free courses, you get to be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8 figure Discord out there. Jump on our live Q&As anytime you want. Ask me questions anytime you want. Have access to all the different events that we do. There's so much going on in the group, guys. Make sure you check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.